I don't think business owners have a work ethic problem. If anything, we work too hard. And that sounds wrong until you actually sit with it. Because when everything feels heavy and money feels tight, effort is the only thing you trust. Effort is how you survived. So questioning it feels dangerous. But I'm noticing something I can't unsee. I'm working harder than I ever have, and somehow I feel further away from the business I thought this effort would create. From the outside, it probably looks fine. Busy calendar, momentum, a lot going on. But internally, it feels tight, like everything works only if nothing unexpected happens. And that's not a stable way to live. This exists because I'm living it right now. Multiple businesses, different problems pulling on me at the same time, people counting on decisions, and every decision feels heavier than it used to. Not because I'm weaker, but because the margin for error is smaller. Early in business, everything feels scrappy. Later on, everything feels fragile. Nobody really warns you about that shift. You're not grinding to get started anymore. You're grinding to keep things from slipping. That pressure is different. What I keep seeing in myself and other owners is this quiet pattern. You're more disciplined than ever, more serious, more focused, and yet the financial pressure doesn't ease. It just hums in the background. You don't panic, you don't collapse, you just carry it all the time. You wake up already tense. You do math in your head during conversations. You measure decisions by how risky they feel instead of how right they are. And the scariest part is how normal it becomes. You tell yourself this is just business ownership. You tell yourself it's a season, but seasons aren't supposed to last forever. The real pain isn't that you're busy. It's that you're responsible and still don't feel safe. You can handle being tired. You can handle working nonstop. What breaks you over time is working nonstop and still feeling exposed. That's when the quiet questions start. Why does this still feel tight? Why does one expense still throw me off? Why am I still worried about money when I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing? Those questions don't come from laziness. They come from someone who expected something to give by now. I had a moment that made this painfully clear. It wasn't dramatic, no breakdown, just late at night, house quiet, everyone asleep, me flipping between numbers, different accounts, different businesses. I'd worked all day. Calls, messages, fixing problems, decisions, no wasted time. And I stopped and asked myself something simple. What did I actually do today to put money in the business? Not might pay off later, not helped something, not needed to be done. What directly brought money in? I stared at the screen longer than I want to admit because the answer is almost nothing. That feeling isn't panic, it's that slow drop in your stomach when something clicks and you can't unsee it. I realized I spent an entire day being useful without being effective. And that's dangerous because usefulness feels productive. It lets you justify exhaustion. Effectiveness is what pays you. That gap is where a lot of owners get stuck. I used to believe working harder fixed everything. If things felt tight, push. If money stressed me out, grind more. That belief feels responsible, even if it works for a while. Until it doesn't, because effort starts covering the real issue. The issue isn't that you're not trying, it's that you're trying at too many things that don't pay. And I know how that sounds, because those things feel important admin, fixes, systems, planning, cleanup, all real work. But work and income aren't the same thing. When money feels tight, this matters eventually becomes a luxury you don't have. What I see over and over is owners filling their days with respectable tasks and wondering why the pressure never eases. Because being busy feels safer than being focused. Focused work forces clarity. Busy work lets you hide. I caught myself doing this constantly. I know exactly what mattered a follow up, a direct ask, a conversation I didn't want to have. And suddenly I'm answering emails, cleaning things up, telling myself I'll get to the important thing after. After doesn't come. At the end of the day, you feel accomplished and uneasy. That combination is a warning sign. You didn't avoid work, you avoided the work that matters. Not because you're lazy, because the work that pays usually comes with discomfort, rejection, silence, someone saying no. So instead, you do the things that feel responsible. And you don't even realize you're hiding. A lot of business owners are hiding inside their own workload. They build schedules so full they don't have to answer the one question that matters: is this actually working? Because answering that forces decisions, and decisions have consequences. So instead, we stack more tasks, more ideas, more effort, and call it hustle. But hustle is just motion without judgment. Judgment is what creates progress. This is why most marketing advice falls flat when you're stressed. It assumes margins. It assumes emotional bandwidth. It assumes you're playing offense. Most owners watching this are playing defense. They're not optimizing, they're trying not to fall behind. So being told to add more just adds weight. When money feels tight, complexity is the enemy. More systems won't save you. More ideas won't save you. More effort definitely won't save you. Clarity will. But clarity is uncomfortable because it removes excuses. I realized I was protecting the business from hypothetical future problems while ignoring the very present real ones. Cash flow. Money isn't just money when you own a business. It's safety. It's whether you can breathe. So when money feels uncertain, your nervous system takes over. You default to activity, whatever makes you feel responsible, even if it's wrong. That's how working harder becomes a liability. I hear the same language everywhere. I'm slammed, busier than ever. And what they're really saying is, I'm exhausted and still don't feel safe. That's not a time problem, that's a priority problem. Sometimes you're behind because you built complexity before revenue earned it. More offers, more services, more channels. Now you're maintaining a machine that requires constant energy just to stay upright. That's drag. I had to look at my own situation honestly and ask uncomfortable questions. If I strip this down, what actually pays? What could disappear without killing the business? Those answers usually require letting go of things you're attached to. Doing more feels serious. Exhaustion feels like commitment. And because you're working hard, nobody questions it. Hard work gives you cover, but results don't care how hard you worked. Eventually, the numbers tell the truth. And when they do, you either get defensive or get clear. Getting clear means fewer priorities. It means choosing what matters and ignoring the rest. That sounds simple. It's not, because clarity is useless if you won't let go. Letting go feels irresponsible at first. It feels like admitting something didn't work. And if your identity is tied to being the one who figures things out, that hurts. But after a little time passes, something unexpected happens. You breathe. Not because things are perfect, because things are quieter. Quiet is where clear thinking lives. If everything feels important, you're lying to yourself. Important things are rare. Urgent things are loud. If you don't separate them, stress decides for you. And stress has terrible judgment. I had to stop doing things that made me feel productive but didn't pay. Stop entertaining conversations that went nowhere. Stop pretending some projects were almost there. The hardest part wasn't operational, it was identity. I had to stop being the guy who does everything and become the guy who chooses carefully. Busy makes you feel important. Focused makes you feel exposed. Exposure is uncomfortable because now your outcome is tied to fewer things. That's nowhere to hide, but that's where authority actually comes from. I still struggle with this. I still feel the pull to fix everything, especially when things feel uncertain. Every time I ask myself the same question: is this actually the best use of my energy right now? Sometimes it is. Most of the time, it is not. If you've been working harder than ever and still feel behind, hear this clearly. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're not incapable. You're exhausted because you're carrying too much that doesn't deserve your energy. Effort isn't the problem, judgment is. That's what I help business owners work through. Not hype, not hustle, clear decisions when pressure is high and money actually matters. If this felt uncomfortably familiar, that's not an accident. You don't need more ideas. You need fewer priorities and the courage to honor them. Working harder isn't saving you, choosing better will.